the week 4 CSS code along. I haven't published this yet, but I'm getting ready to. And as I publish things, I generally look back at my instructions to see if there was anything I wanted to highlight. And there was a couple of things this time. In this case, when you're setting up this week, right, you don't have to copy the other week over, although you do want to bring over that markdown file for your CSS markdown MD file, because I want you to continue to update that, and that will become like a notes reference for you. But you can just create the index and the CSS before you start coding along in this week. And keep in mind, remember, I grade on commits. That's what I look for. I look at your commits. I look at the work that you coded along, and I made sure, right, that was the code that you did for those particular commits. Right? That's how I grade it. So this week is a really, and I will have provided a video in the attendance that already do this, meaning already help you start to understand some of these units and values. And the link to MDN I think is really good here, because he's going to go over the absolute and the relative at the very beginning of this. And for most people, this is the first time, again, this students will vary based on their experience here. But having an understanding, so when Dave is talking about these concepts in here, really, if you can, stop and do a little more research. Now, what could you do for research? Well, one thing I'd highly recommend, as a matter of fact, I think, and you will have heard me to say this already, I'm thinking of using ChatGPT for our projects for the content, and then of course you would build out the page. But it is a really good thing to just go over to chat and ask basic questions. Like if you ask a question on chat and the content you get out, which is actually something I was doing just to see, like I did Help Me Learn CSS values and units. So as you look through here, it talks about color names, units, viewport sizes. If there's something that, and some of this may not, but if there's something that is covered, you can also say, give me a simple example. Now, in this case, it's looking for context, meaning what was the last thing, or what were you asking in here? And I said, what is viewport, right? And then give me examples. Oh, I spelled examples wrong. Maybe that's why I didn't get good ones, right? So chat is going to understand the context of what you're talking about, but in this case I'd want to give it, say, give me an example of, right? Give me a simple example of, maybe like typeface would be a good one, right? Typography would be a good one. And so what you want to do is use chat to deepen your knowledge, because it is really one of the most powerful ways I've seen to get some information quickly. Now, you and I could debate whether chat gives good content around all the topics that are in our world, but around technology, and specifically HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and many programming languages, it does a pretty good job. Okay, so I consider this a great textbook, but the difference is you can use this textbook for you. You can customize it for how you want to understand this, right? And then you can also, if it gives you an example and you don't understand it, you can say, give me a simpler example, right? Explain it to me like I'm a 5th grader. I mean, there are just so many things. And don't feel bad, by the way. That's just like increasing your understanding. So when we're looking at right, viewport width and viewport height, these things are pretty, like, and Dave does a good job, I think, of giving you examples, but the other thing is, depending on how much your focus, right, is, but it is definitely worth stopping and doing some additional research as we get to some of this, right? Because the box model is fundamental in understanding the way CSS works. And again, I put a break in here, right? So And then I was looking through here to see, right? So in this case, right, as he moves now, unlike HTML, right, where we're kind of continuously updating, right? Dave often will in each chapter start off with something a clean slate, and so don't forget, right? If you don't see it under there, and it's not a bad idea to have this. Like, because I've looked at it a couple of times, right? If in this case, let's say in 5, right, he has some HTML. Now you can either go in and create that as he talks about it, or just grab this and copy and paste it, right? It's totally okay when you're doing the setups, right? In this case. Okay, I think that was the majority, and I love that he covers Google Fonts, but he really makes a good point that I couldn't reiterate more, is that you want to use fonts from Google. You don't want to use a lot, choose a couple, okay? I think that is a really helpful thing to do in there. Okay, I think that's all I really, just look through here and see if there was anything out. It covers pseudo classes. I love that it covers focus for accessibility. So important. Okay, so and don't forget when you're submitting your work for the code alongs, right? Give me your commit history. That is how, and I will have replied back to you if you didn't give me your commit history. Definitely, and by this the 4th week, hopefully you got that down. And I'm just saying it, and you're like, no, Rio, I got it. Okay, all right. Have fun with this. Take a break if you need it. Make sure you're tracking and understanding the concepts as I have you update your css.md file. Do that, and I look forward to seeing your work. Have a good one.